Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I have to say, the moment Charlotte told Danny the truth, I immediately felt that familiar General Hospital tension creeping in. If you've watched this show as long as I have, you know exactly what I mean. Sometimes the biggest disasters don't start with villains or evil schemes. Sometimes they start with a good kid who simply wants to help. That's what makes this situation so fascinating and honestly so dangerous. Danny isn't trying to hurt anyone. He's trying to save his father, and that may end up creating a much bigger problem than anyone expected. What really stands out to me is how much Jason has sacrificed to keep this secret buried. For a while now, Jason hasn't been focused on protecting himself. He's been focused on protecting Rocco. Every decision he's made, every risk he's taken, and every difficult situation he's endured has been part of a larger strategy. The goal wasn't necessarily to win. The goal was to buy time and prevent Rocco's life from being permanently damaged by one terrible moment. That's a heavy burden for anyone to carry, and Jason has been carrying it largely on his own. Then, Charlotte changed everything with one emotional conversation. After learning the real reason Jason had been held by the WSB, she trusted Danny with information that completely altered the situation. The second she revealed that Rocco was the one who shot Cullen while trying to save Jason's life, the balance that everyone had worked so hard to maintain suddenly became unstable. In that moment, Danny became one of the most important people in this entire storyline, whether he realizes it or not. What I find interesting is that Danny's first instinct wasn't anger, fear, or revenge. Instead, he immediately looked for a solution. In his mind, the answer seems obvious. If Jason is suffering because the truth has been hidden, then the truth should be revealed. Jason gets his freedom, Alexis can continue protecting Rocco, and everyone can finally stop living under the weight of this secret. From the perspective of a teenager, that kind of thinking makes perfect sense. It's straightforward, honest, and hopeful. The problem is that life rarely works in such a simple way, especially in Port Charles. One thing I've learned over the years is that the truth doesn't always set people free. Sometimes it creates entirely new problems. Sometimes it hurts people who are already struggling to survive. Danny still sees the world through the eyes of someone who believes that doing the right thing automatically leads to the right outcome. There's something admirable about that, but there's also something dangerous about it when the stakes are this high. That's why Charlotte's reaction felt so important to me. She immediately understood what Danny didn't. Exposing Rocco won't magically solve Jason's problems. In fact, it could make everything worse. Rocco could face consequences that would follow him for years. Families could be torn apart. Relationships could be destroyed. The sacrifices made by Jason, Dante, Lulu, and others could suddenly become meaningless. Charlotte wasn't trying to win an argument. She was desperately trying to stop a chain reaction before it started. I also can't stop thinking about Rocco's position in all of this. It's easy to focus on the secret itself and forget the human side of the story. Rocco isn't some criminal mastermind. He's a young boy who found himself in an impossible situation. He was trying to save a life when everything spiraled out of control. That doesn't erase what happened, but it does make the situation far more complicated than a simple question of right and wrong. Sometimes good people make choices during moments of panic that change everything, and that's exactly what happened here. The irony is that Danny may now be the greatest threat to Jason's entire strategy, even though he loves his father more than anything. Jason knows how to deal with enemies. He spent most of his life facing dangerous people and impossible odds. What he may not be prepared for is a son who genuinely believes he's helping. Those are often the most heartbreaking situations because nobody involved has bad intentions. Everyone thinks they're protecting someone they love. As I watch this storyline unfold, I keep coming back to one thought. Jason's biggest problem may no longer be the WSB, Cullum, or any outside force. His biggest problem may be the simple fact that Danny now knows the truth. That's a frightening thought because secrets in Port Charles have a way of coming out eventually, and once they do, there's no turning back. Danny believes he's holding the key to Jason's freedom, but he may actually be holding the match that could set the entire situation on fire. And if there's one thing General Hospital has taught me over the years, it's that good intentions can sometimes lead to the most devastating consequences of all. Right now, Danny is standing at a crossroads. The decision he makes next could determine not only Jason's future, but Rocco's future as well. That's why I have a feeling this story is only beginning. And the real fallout may be much bigger than anyone in Port Charles is prepared for. The more I think about this storyline, the more convinced I become that Cullum may not be Jason's biggest problem anymore. That's saying a lot when you consider everything that's happened. For weeks, viewers have been focused on dangerous figures like Cullum, Sidwell, and the WSB. Those are the obvious threats. They're the people everyone expects Jason to battle. But sometimes the most dangerous problems aren't the ones standing across the room. Sometimes they're sitting right beside you, completely unaware of the damage they might cause. That's exactly where Danny finds himself right now. What makes this situation so heartbreaking is that Danny's loyalty to Jason has never been in question. If there's one thing I've noticed over the years, it's that Danny loves his father deeply. He wants to protect him, support him, and help him any way he can. Most parents would be proud to have a son who cares that much. The tragedy here is that Danny's desire to help may end up accomplishing the exact opposite of what he intends. From Danny's perspective, the situation looks incredibly simple. He sees Jason being held captive by circumstances beyond his control. He sees a secret that could potentially change everything. He sees Alexis as someone who has the power to intervene and make things right. To a teenager, those pieces fit together in a way that seems perfectly logical. If the truth can free Jason, then why keep hiding it? But Jason sees something entirely different. Jason understands that this plan was never just about protecting himself. Every decision he has made has been centered around protecting Rocco. The secret surrounding that terrible moment has remained buried, because exposing it too soon could place Rocco directly in harm's way. Jason has accepted enormous personal sacrifices because he believes shielding Rocco is worth the cost. Whether viewers agree with that strategy or not, it's clear that Jason has built everything around that single objective. That's why Danny's new knowledge changes everything. Unlike the adults involved, Danny wasn't present during all the difficult conversations and painful decisions that led to this point. He hasn't spent weeks calculating risks or considering every possible consequence. He only sees the immediate problem in front of him. His father is suffering, and he believes he knows how to stop it. That's a powerful motivation, especially for a young person who hasn't yet learned that some problems become more complicated the closer you look at them. What fascinates me is that nobody is manipulating Danny into making a mistake. There isn't a villain whispering in his ear. Nobody is blackmailing him, threatening him, or pushing him toward a bad decision. In many soap storylines, there's usually someone pulling the strings behind the scenes. Here, that's not the case at all. Danny simply learned information that was never meant for him, and now he's struggling to decide what to do with it. In some ways, that makes the situation even more suspenseful. The danger isn't coming from an outside enemy, it's coming from a young man trying to follow his conscience. Those kinds of conflicts are often the most emotionally powerful because viewers can understand both sides. We understand why Jason wants the secret protected. We also understand why Danny believes revealing the truth could solve everything. The problem is that secrets have consequences no matter which choice is made. If Danny stays silent, he has to live with the knowledge that he may have been able to help Jason and chose not to act. If he speaks up, he risks unraveling a carefully constructed plan that countless people have sacrificed to maintain. That's an impossible burden for someone his age. In the end, that's what makes this twist so effective. Jason has spent all this time protecting a secret from dangerous enemies, only to discover that the greatest threat may come from someone who loves him the most. Danny isn't trying to destroy Jason's plan. He's trying to save him. Yet that good intention could end up placing Rocco back in danger and undoing everything Jason has worked so hard to protect. If that happens, the fallout could be far more devastating than anything Cullum ever managed to accomplish.